great, great organization, which is Be a Child's Voice. Be a Child's Voice is about juvenile sex offender awareness and of awareness so parents know to keep an extra eye out. A lot of people don't realize that um, the things that are going on because they're not from these people. So, to start with, the nicer weather's coming, and of course, panic attack, and because now it's as the weather gets nicer, you're gonna have more kids at the parks, and you're gonna have more kids, and soon school will let out, and then you have the camps and all that good stuff for the kids, but not always so much fun. So we always tell our children about stranger danger, and I'm not sure whether or not we like really understand what a child understands as stranger danger. Because, like, even in school, when they talk about stranger danger, and they're like, well, what about kids my age? And they literally say, well, kids, you could be friends with them. And it's, and that's from just like watching stuff on TV and how the scenario um had taken place. I'm sorry about all the ums. You have to excuse me. But anyway, sorry. What I try to do is spread awareness so that way people know that it really is happening. The reason you don't hear about it and know about it, and this you can look up. I did so much research, and all of this from just reading a little article about a mother who take it anymore. And in that article, it blew my mind, and I really, really wish I took that magazine home. I do. Because, like, it empowered me to for the voices of innocent children who are and some offenders sometimes they don't, and they're most of the time it's the people that they know or get to know. So, like, for instance, I say this all the time, and I'm going to say it over and over again. You are not allowed to know, excuse me, if your son or daughter, and now that they're dating in junior high, and junior high or high school are juvenile sex offenders, whether it may be a boy or a girl. You are not allowed to know. Juvenile sex offenders have rights. They have a right to their privacy of what they did. And it's really, really, really sad that like this happens. Like, you can do your research and you will see that I am not wrong. I do a lot of research. I have a Be a Child's Voice site um on Facebook, and it has different sites that you can go on for juvenile sex offenders, and like their whole outlook. I am so sorry. What I did was I did search, and I looked at the laws, laws, and I read numerous pages of literature on juvenile sex offenders and different states, what the laws hold and what punishments and what becomes of whatever. And I was amazed at the ones who don't have a juvenile sex offender registry, but I was also amazed at the ones that did, because I get the point and I understand the frustration of legislation, okay? If I'm not talking right, don't mind me, because I had open heart surgery and I don't know, I didn't get enough brain in my oxygen to my brain at some point and I lose myself. But give me a second, I will come back. And this is very important. So, that you have a 13-year-old daughter who is sexually active, a know-it-all teenager as they are, and she's dating a 15-year-old, and you're trying to get them not to be together. And we've seen this so many times for as long as whatever. And parents can do that whole, oh my god, Sagittarius rape thing at a certain age and all that. I get that. But if a 13 and a 15-year-old have intercourse, it doesn't necessarily mean that he is a juvenile sex offender. Now, if the girl is 15 and the 13, again, if they're trying things out, doesn't necessarily mean that she is a juvenile sex offender. Okay. So, laying that out, a juvenile sex offender that should be on a registry is a high school student or a junior high that is a low grade elementary or any elementary school age child. Because any high schooler that just started high school, whether you be a freshman, sophomore, junior, senior, whatever, has no business befriending a um, kindergartner, first grade, second grader. It shouldn't be happening. That is a juvenile sex offender. That is a child who has, one, been assaulted while he was younger and he's making an error, or he is just somebody, he or she, I got to do both because it is in both. He or she is you know, just doing it because they can overpower that child, and they could do things to make that child do things to them or reward them and stuff, because small children can be tricked and small children can be manipulated. And in the end, that small child, when all is failed and it comes out, they're pretty much, from what I've read, devastated, because now this child has had all this stuff happen to them sexually, and then now they have these other issues now, and is trust, and another, having to worry about who to trust and who's good and who's bad, and this and what if that, and it's a constant battle of them trying to fit into a society that they fit into before, but now they're looking at it through adult eyes. And then you also have the issue where, I mean, at our ages, we are sexually active and we know the pleasure and we know how to handle our pleasures. And now we have these small children of 5, 6, 7, 8 having feelings of sexual desire because they were. And I mean, I know that they say like all kids at a young age touch themselves, you know, and it feels good and masturbation and it's all normal. But when you have a young girl who has these feelings of sexual arousal and wants more than just the masturbation because of something that somebody has done to them, it's a little more extreme and it's very confusing to them. And not to mention it's a very different feeling than just an arousal. I mean you're horny. You want that be pleasured, and sometimes, like I said, it's just not a masturbation situation. So now, you know, looking back at like all the different cases of parents and what they were allowed to say, and I have to tell you, out of Connecticut states that doesn't have it. They believe that a child of 17 and whatever are undeveloped. Their brains are undeveloped, okay? They have undeveloped brains. We let them go to work at 15. We let them have a driving permit at 15. We let them drive cars at 15. I mean 16, excuse me. We let them work at 16. They come and go pretty much as they please at 16. And again, this is a child with an undeveloped mind. Why are we giving so much responsibility and letting them spread their wings into this adult type of atmosphere if their brains are underdeveloped? You're saying that their brains are underdeveloped, but let's see. Let's just take, for instance, like driving a car. Driving a car. Driving a car, driving a car. Driving a car. A car. Hand. Hand, eye, feet, and brain coordination. You have to have your hands doing one thing, your feet doing another. Your mind has to be willing to work your feet, steer the steering wheel, sweeping from side to side, making sure that there's no cars, no pedestrians, animals, so on and so forth. Plus, stay on the same speed limit. Okay, stay within the speed limit. That's a lot. That's a lot. So, a child can drive a car who has an underdeveloped brain, but they're not responsible for raping a child because their brain is underdeveloped. Come on, Connecticut. Could we please I don't get it. I don't understand Connecticut parents and people could even associate with this nonsense. Okay, so what I do is I look through all kinds of paperwork that I can get my hands on for different states that have the juvenile sex offender registry. And then, like right now, because like I did too much at once with the registry for for Connecticut. I'm in West Haven, but I mean it's for the state of Connecticut. So like I looked at a whole bunch of different aspects, and I talked to different people and different oh goodness, sorry, this happens, I told you. Different organizations that protect rape victims and counseling and so on and so forth. But again, if if it is under the juvenile district of a offender, it doesn't matter the amount of the offense it is. So it could be a 7 counts degree sexual assault in the first degree. And I believe the minimum was 2 years probation. 2 years, year and a half probation. Okay, like that's the highest punishment. That's pretty sad. So that offender doesn't get the happens. The offender does not get the seriousness of what he has done or she has done. And they go home to mommy and daddy, and they are allowed to do whatever. They can go away on vacation. They go to like Six Flags, amusement parks, carnivals. They're in swimming pools. They're at picnics, at the beach, at parks. They camp. They they're camp counselors at different types of like they have the foot camp, they have lacrosse camp, they have baseball, all these different camps, cheerleading camp. And what sucks, you're not allowed to know that those children are sex offenders. Now, if I had it my way, and if other parents, now everyone that like stops my sticker, my shirts, whatever, and they always say the same thing to me. They're like, I never hear about this. And I say, of course not, because they're protected. They're juvenile. So your son, your daughter could be dating a juvenile sex offender. Your son could be hanging around with a boy next to your house. And you have mine, and know that that child is a juvenile sex offender. So that's like another thing that bothers me. I am not to let it out. No. I'm saying, so according to the offense, because there are lots of cases where juvenile sex offenders are 16, 17 years old dating a 13 and 14-year old, okay? And then you got a 13 and 14-year-old saying that that's their boyfriend and that's whatever. You have to look at the age difference and the age of the child making the decision, because now remember, children's minds are underdeveloped, but yet they're allowed to drive cars, they're allowed to work, they're allowed to work as camp counselors and everything else. So let's just keep that in mind. Now, the whole time that I'm going through all of this reading, getting a headache, it's the same thing about the offender. The offender, let's retrain his mind, or their mind, excuse me. Let's retrain their mind. Let's let's give them this psychosexual eval and then see where in their brain this problem is. And then we're going to retrain the brain to not have these thoughts, and make them learn from what they did. So now they have this probation period where, like I said, they get to go and do whatever, which I think is very dangerous, because now that they know that they got caught, and now they got 18 months, 2 years of being a good boy or girl. And now, if that urge comes again, what are they going to do? What are they going to do different so they don't get caught? I watched a story called Killer Kids, and scared the it scared me really bad. I was blown away at what, like, hurt people for. And was the fact that um she was 17 and the mom and dad said no, and actually ended up killing her little brother. And it was all because of what the shit that the 16, 17-year-old was putting into the 13, 14, or 15-year-old's head. So I mean, it's so scary. And like, I read, like, just even different, watching the different shows, just seeing young children, very young children, are capable of. It's like, oh my God. If I had a child who, like, I wonder, like, would I even know, like, to pick up on that kind of behavior, where the parent had told the child that they couldn't go to a birthday party because they didn't do something that they were asked to do. And the child ended up stabbing his parents. And but I mean, it's like, I don't know. So it's like, it's scary what this world is coming to, but it's always been there. This is not something new. It's been around for ages. It's just quiet because our juveniles. So what I do is I open up and I tell people about juvenile sex offender awareness, and I let them know, be aware, watch your children, tell your children, tell other children. When you are at the park and you see somebody pushing a child by its butt on a swing, or something that doesn't look right, bring your child closer. Of course, go with them and, talk to that person. See if they're related. See if there's something that, you know what I mean, that's not right. Because if they're sitting there and they're pushing this kid by the butt, and when they could be pushing them on their, their back or whatever, and it looks inappropriate or not right, or like they have the kid on their back and their hands are behind their back holding their butt. I mean, and their thumbs are, I mean, there's so many things that you could see that are inappropriate that, like, I never ever thought of. And it blows my mind of things that are so inappropriate that happen. And I have no shame in my game, and I'm like, oh my God, is it your little sister? And they're like, oh no, it's my friend's sister, uncle, brother, whatever. And I'm like, oh, you should be careful how you're touching her because it looks a little inappropriate. And like I'll say something to the little child too, and I was like, maybe that's something you should talk to mom about. Good touch, bad touch. And I know he was pushing you on the swing, but it doesn't look right. And I know he was giving you a pity back ride, but it was a little inappropriate. You know what I mean? You have to assist, this gentleman, which is your friend, was giving your sister a pity back ride, but his hands were in her groin area, and that was very inappropriate, and so on and so forth. So it's like there's only so much that you can do, and you don't want to make a situation that's not a situation, but you want to make sure that the situation is not a situation, and you also want to take care of it as quickly as possible, so that way if something is about to start, you could stop it. And if something has already started, so the whole thing is not letting a child go being hurt, and getting it out there that these children need a, when they find out that a child has been sexually assaulted by a juvenile, everything is closed. Everything is hush hushed, and things move so fast, and your head is spinning. As she said, that after everything was said and done, and like they were home, her and her boyfriend of I don't know how many years, but he was the father of her child, and they're like, you know, I always said, like, oh, if anyone ever hurt my child, I'd beat the living shit out of them. That I would that. There's so much going on. You're not even people out there saying, yeah, let somebody fuck with my kid. Let me tell you, things are happening. The last thing that you're thinking about, dude, the only thing you're worried about is your child getting this whole little system thing that they have set up, and making sure that they're okay within themselves, that person can't go near them. And then it's like all court cases and stuff. But afterwards, I'm a family that is right now. This is where I'm at. Be a Child's Voice. We have a march in March. My number is 203 654. If you want information